Stacy, can I grab one of these chairs over here?
Alright guys, thanks for coming. We're gonna get started. We'll try and get you out of here quickly, but thank you guys for coming. So we're just gonna get started quick and then we'll move on to the commendation. So we're just gonna call the January 12th, 2022 regular meeting of the Board of Selectmen to order. And if you'd like, please join us for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So we're so excited. This is not a normal Board of Selectmen meeting for those of you who are here for other purposes, but we're going to give a commendation to the Stonington High School boys soccer team. Again, we're so excited. You guys did amazing, and we're really happy to be joined by our distinguished state representative, Howard, also local Stonington police officer, who also has a commendation. So maybe we can invite you guys to the front, if that's fine. All of them. Yeah, the team and the coaches.
You lit. Hope not. John, if you told me you got a haircut, I wouldn't. Josh, your butt's on camera. Oh my gosh.
Don't rely on that first dunk yesterday. I was at least like that far off the
And then, so really ours is just to be hereby known to all that the Board of Selectmen offer their sincerest congratulations to the Stonington High School boys soccer team in recognition of winning the Connecticut Interscholastic Athletic Conference Class M State Championship. And we've listed all of your names and the coaches. So just congratulations. You know, this is years, not more than years of hard work from all of you. So congratulations, and we're just you made the whole town so proud. So thank you guys. Thank you. Greg has a big fancy one.
Yeah, it's just a little bit bigger, more complex than Hartford. In all seriousness, congratulations, guys, on what you've accomplished. Coach, congratulations, wherever you want. Thank you. Where'd you go? Oh, there it is. I just said this. Do we make kids that aren't 7 feet tall anymore? I don't know if it's because I live with Shana, but I feel like anytime around high school kids, I'm looking up at all of them. But, what you guys have continued to accomplish throughout the last multiple years, not just your few years at the high school, has been outstanding. And congratulations to all of you. But there are two people that I didn't want to leave Stonington High School without special recognition from the state, starting with Coach DeCastro. And when I read the article in the New London Day, there was two things, Coach, that stood out to me. It's obvious your accomplishments on the field, but what you said in there was that you tried to commit a joke around and you got emotional. And I felt that. I felt that a lot because winning is great. Going out and winning state championships is great. But what Coach has done is he's taken on all these boys as his own. And this is not a shock to anybody in this room. It's not a shock to anybody standing here. And besides winning state championships, he has helped be a mentor and mold not just his own children, but all of your children. And it does take all of us to work together. And he's been a standout on that. And the next thing that he said was that his wife was very patient with him, and the stress and the amount of hours. And I think that gets lost. I think that it gets lost in everything that goes on, that the amount of time, stress, and worry that coaches feel because they want their kids to succeed. Because when the kids win, the kids win. When the kids lose, the coach it's his fault, right? That's how he feels. I know that. He didn't have to say that to me. He takes on that responsibility. He doesn't want to let them down. And I cannot see you leave Stonington High School soccer without a recognition from the state of Connecticut. Senator Summers couldn't be here tonight. She's out of town on business. But be it hereby known to all, that's introduced by myself and the Senator, be it hereby known to all that the Connecticut General Assembly hereby offers its sincerest congratulations to Paul DeCastro in recognition of your dedication and commitment to your players, coaches, associates, and friends is a tribute to your personal character and integrity. You have modeled your life around the principle that athletics is an integral part of the total education process. A true coach does more than just coach the game. A true coach plays a fundamental role in the development of his players on and off the field. You have left a positive mark which will always be remembered. May you enjoy good health and much happiness for many years to come. His entire membership extends its very best wishes on this memorable occasion. I will confess it's dated tomorrow because I was going to do this before that meeting, but it's just not making you guys do this twice. I am here, but it has been signed by President Pro Tem of the Senate, Martin Looney, Speaker Ritter, and the Secretary of State, Denise Merrill. Congratulations, Coach. And I have just one more individual award. Again, somebody I couldn't leave Stone High School. Again, I'll confess this is a little bit of a personal undertone to it. But one of our players, as a standout, scored over 100 goals, was named to as an All-American, and has been absolutely outstanding. I came to meet Sammy. Actually, I'll tell you briefly, it is personal. I knew of Sammy before I met him. Sam Montaldo became a household name for us about 6 years ago, when Nady was in elementary school, and Sam was his older mentor at St. Michael's when they were students there, and I couldn't have picked a better person. So, see, he's not the only person who gets emotional. So, but we've watched Sam. Everybody knows he knows I'm a football guy, but you know, Sam Montalvo, we had to go to soccer games, and when I met him, I got to see what all the buzz was about with Nate and what he's done, what he's meant to this community. Certainly a testament to Devin, the job that you're doing, and you're carrying on the reputation of a last name that was well deserved and well established by a great person. So we have for you a citation as well. Be hereby known to all that the Connecticut General Assembly hereby offers its sincerest congratulations to Sam Montaldo in recognition being named to the 2021 United Soccer Coaches All-American Team. You along with your team exemplify all the positive attributes associated with hard work, good sportsmanship, and cooperation. We join with your community in congratulating you on this great achievement, and we wish you much happiness for many years to come. The entire membership extends its very best to you on this memorable occasion. Congratulations and thank you. Hold on. Thank you, and I just want to say thank you to the Board of Selectmen for allowing the opportunity. Thank you.
On the bridge. Sam, put it on the bridge.
You want to take So yeah, you guys are more than welcome to stay. It's going to be a fascinating meeting, but you can also go enjoy a probably more fun night.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody.
Yo, so like with this, I'll bring it home if you want. If he wants to stay, if he wants to stay, I don't think
I didn't get to see it because it was so crazy.
I was the last one to leave the field.
I think
I knew that was the end, so I wanted to. Thank you. Thank you for your support.
Good luck to you.
All right, so we'll let them leave. Hope they didn't break anything on the Hi, good, how are you? Great. Okay, so how are we? So we're moving on to our interviews. Do we have to yeah, sorry, we have, we're here, maybe we'll tilt it towards, oh, you see two of us, sorry, Deb is here.
No, that's fine. I can sit down there.
So we're very advanced in Sterlington. So we moved on to our interview for the Economic Development Commission. And so our first applicant, Laura Graham, is coming in via Italy. So Laura, thank you for taking the time, and I know it's a very different time where you are, very late, so thank you. We put you first, so we'll get through this, but we have your application, so thank you. I'm just gonna turn this up a little bit. So maybe June, do you wanna start with the first question?
Yes, hi Laura.
Hi.
All right, can you see me okay?
Yeah, I can see you great.
All right, so the first question, I mean, there's 3 questions altogether, but the first one is that we would like to know what pertinent experience you have serving on a board, commission, or in another volunteer capacity. And then responding, please expand on what roles you played and what impact you had.
As a small business owner, I have experience working across the state of Connecticut and also within our town. And I think that helps me understand other business owners. And having started the business myself from scratch, I understand the kind of support I think that is helpful to business owners. My business has been active for 6 years and profitable for 6 years, and it's been quite successful, so I think I have a good understanding based on that. And I think my involvement as a community organizer has taught me a lot about our town and has put me in direct contact with literally thousands of people in our town. And I think I have a pretty good feel for the general pulse of what's going on in our town and what people are looking for and thinking about. And that's something new for me because up until I moved back to Stonington, I grew up here. I have lived in Stonington since I was 2. My parents, still have their home here, and I went through the whole Stonington public school system, so I feel really connected to Stonington. I'm in Rome right now. I have an Italian husband and Italian children. We have a home here as well. But we plan to be going back and forth, and now that my husband's retired, we'll be spending more time in our home in Pawcatuck. And I have a really strong community connection, especially to Pawcatuck. We have the Moss Farm Neighborhood Organization, which is a nonpartisan neighborhood group, which actively is working to bring our community together, get people to know each other, be supportive, help people in need. And we all live very, very close to downtown Pawcatuck, and I see downtown Pawcatuck is a significant area for development for our town. And I think I have a particularly close connection with that community. And I think people have, despite I'm not on a specific town or commission, I have a lot of people who reach out to me on a regular basis to ask for my opinion and help in advocacy towards what they are concerned about. So I think I could be helpful. I think with the EDC, there's been some disconnect with the community, and I think my being on the EDC or being a participant in it would be a helpful thing. I think it would be a healing thing for our community. So I think it would be very positive. I understand there's many other applicants, and if I'm not chosen, I understand that's just part of how this all works, and maybe I will be in another time in the future. So I thank you for your time. I thank you for accommodating me in a very virtual way. I hope everybody stays healthy, and thank you for the good work that you do.
And
We
Laura,
have
sorry,
2 more questions.
two more
Yes.
questions, if you don't mind. You did a good job, though. You answered most of them, so don't feel like you already answered them.
Okay, it's really late here.
I'm sorry.
I started work this morning here at 5:30 a.m. our time here, so I'm really,
No,
I'm
don't worry.
I'm so vertical.
Great job. We'll go quickly. So maybe Deb, do you want to take
All
number
right,
2?
I'll come closer so you can hear me.
Hi, Deb.
Hi, Laura. What's your opinion of the responsibilities and primary function of the EDC?
I think the EDC is Economic Development Commission. I think the other thing too, which I've understood, is that town commissions are very much about individuals. You know, it's small, and I think that, you know, there's been a lot of talk about growing the grant list, which I think the point of growing the grant list, from what I understand, is to help keep our mill rate down and to keep our taxes lower, right? Our property taxes specifically. And but I think one of the things that I'm concerned about with the growing the grant list conversation is that we need to look at what the net gain is from anything that we do within our community, and not look at gross numbers, but to really look at the true impacts, including soft assets and what's being impacted by anything that we do to change or improve our town. Is that helpful in answering that question?
Yes,
that
yes.
was a really good
Thank you.
answer. Thank
Okay.
you. And sorry, there are also last one, and you really
Yeah,
touched
go
on a
ahead.
lot of this, but any other kind of relevant professional experience or certain skill sets that you think you bring to the EDC that you wanted to highlight that you haven't gotten to yet?
I think in general I'm pretty good at bringing people together. I don't see myself as partisan. I think that my friend group is extremely diverse. Because of my job experience, because I do marketing and sales, I have to effectively communicate and storytell for many different kinds of people, to many different kinds of people. I speak several languages, which I don't think that's going to help the EDC particularly.
You never know.
But you never know. But I think it's a talent that I have to communicate, and I think communication is really, really important to find the right tone sometimes to help bridge different kinds of people and different kinds of needs and different kinds of perspectives. So I think I might be helpful that way too.
Thank you so much. And what we'll do, because we won't make you obviously stay on for everybody else, but just so and everybody here knows. So what we'll do is at this meeting, all we're going to do is interviews, and then it won't be until the next meeting where we do kind of the discussion and then appointments. But like you said, just a huge thank you to you and everybody here. It's, you know, a lot of towns really struggle with finding people to join boards and commissions, and it's really great that you guys have all stepped up and are willing to put yourselves out there for a volunteer position that takes a lot of time and work. So thank you. And like you said, there's only a limited number of spots, but anyone that doesn't get chosen, you know, the seats do rotate and open up for this commission, and then there's obviously other boards and commissions that also still have vacancies. So that's just our normal spiel. But thank you. Go get some sleep.
Thank you.
Bye, Laura.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Yeah. Okay, so I think next we have Don. Billy, you want, you're welcome to stay there if you want, or sit here, whatever you're more comfortable with. You're good here, okay. Spoiler alert, they're all the same questions. So, but thank you, and we know you attend a lot of our meetings and other meetings, so thank you for always being so active. But maybe switch things up. Maybe Deb, do you want to start there?
Sure. So we would like to know what pertinent experience you have serving on a board, commission, or in another volunteer capacity. And in responding, please expand on the roles you played and what impact you think you had.
Well, I haven't ever served on a town commission of any type at all. However, I have, when I was working for the state of Connecticut, of course, in the judicial branch, I would volunteer to work on when new policies would come into effect with my administration. We certainly would get people together to try to implement those policies properly in the way that the law was passed. I was involved with child support enforcement, so that was a very, important issue, and certainly an emotional issue. In that position, which I started back in 1984, I, of course, did get promoted to supervisor in the office, and I had 33 plus years there. And I know administration, whenever anything came down from, our administration was located in East Hartford at the time. They moved to Hartford now, but they were in East Hartford when I worked there. They would call on me to help get the word out and really try to educate both my staff and other staff, statewide in terms of anything that's going on with changes in the Child Support Enforcement Office. Also, I certainly involved, this is totally, nothing to do with work, but, I've been involved with the Providence College Alumni Association, so which Sam on top of is going to be going next, so that's as far as I'm concerned, great choice. So, I've been involved with that since I graduated in 1980. Also, I've done things with St. Michael's Church, across the building of the church. I went to St. Michael's School before I went on to Stonington High School. One thing is I'm retired now, and so I have the time that's necessary to dedicate. As you know, you see me at different town meetings. So, and I certainly know the history of the town very well in terms of since the 1970s or so. I certainly do know that. Going back to the days before the Golden Triangle and Mystic was even there. Because my father was on the Planning and Zoning Commission for quite a number of years back in the 70s and 80s. So I was familiar with the drive-through at McDonald's, going back to those controversial issues. So I don't know if you know about that, but that was a big deal.
I can only imagine.
When McDonald's applied for the drive-through over there on Golden Boulevard. But anyways, we've come a long way since then, this town has. So this would be my first opportunity at a town commission of any type, just so you know, in that regard. So, but I'm willing to give it a try. So that's where I would. Right
Thank
there.
you. Thank you. June, you want to take a second?
Yep. Just want to finish right up. What is your opinion of the responsibilities and primary function of the Economic Development Commission?
Well, like I said on the application, to enhance the employment opportunities for citizens of the town of Stonington, attract businesses which compatible with the character of the town, which is always an issue in a small town, obviously. We had the whole uproar over Smiler's Wharf, as you recall. That seemed was a bit overwhelming. So it's trying to get that right balance. We do need to raise, Laura brought it up when she answered too. The grand list is everything, right? Because the grand list, the higher we can get that grand list, we can keep our taxes at bay. We're never going to probably ever keep them at level, but stop huge increases. And increasing the grand list is really the number one thing. Obviously, in relation to all that, sewage in the town of Stonington is huge. I mean, that's one of the big driving issues, is what allows the town to get, increase its economic viability to businesses. I know the Pawcatuck plant, I know it has plenty of capacity. I know Mystic's been strained, although that may be getting totally resolved, I guess. I don't know, maybe I'm being too hopeful. But anyways, with the connection with Stonington. But I know Pawcatuck was designed for North Stonington as well, and North Stonington has never joined. But Pawcatuck has plenty of capacity, which is good for the eastern section of the town of Stonington. So, so there's, and of course, there's a lot of potential for Pawcatuck too, and so that's good. So.
Thank you. So last one, and really it's just if you want to add any more relevant professional experience or certain skill sets that you think you bring to the EDC that you haven't gotten to talk about yet.
Just that my knowledge of the history of the town, I think, is really the top one. I think that I just know I followed what's going on in this town for decades, and having lived in the town for a good number of years, I'm back now after I retired from the state in 2018 and came back here to live. I was living in Woodstock prior to that. there's, you know, I just, the Economic Development Commission itself, I mean, I don't know if anyone in particular was responsible. I've seen some very positive things happen in this town. I was extremely thrilled about Maritime Drive with that, with the Enco Chemical Corporation that came there. That was wonderful. Because I was just sad to see that building sitting back there and not doing anything. It was such a beautiful, beautiful building for scientific research. So that's been a major plus. Way prior to that, Zachary Nuclear Engineering taking over Kellum's, that was fantastic if that happened. And also the fact that Electric Boat is even renting out space up at the Old Man Roland plant in Park Duck. All these are like very, I don't think we probably think of them that much, but they're all very wonderful things that gives people who live in this town, they can go to work close to home, and that's great. So, and I just was reading an article about this company down on Mechanic Street that just came, RDSI, this Research and Development. And I didn't even know that they rented out some space at Mechanic Street. I thought that was excellent news too. So I think those kind of things are the kind of things you try to get to come to town. They're small, maybe on the smaller side, not huge companies, so therefore they're not, you're not bringing in like 1,500 people to impact town. So they're good-sized companies, and they grow here. So I think that's wonderful. Those are the kinds of things that I believe the Economic Development Commission should foster, that kind of recruitment of those kind of employers.
Thank you so much. And then we will go over to David Brown. And then we'll get to Paul, and then Derek. So thank you guys for your patience. And just to say, and to everyone,
Would you
like,
terribly mind if I took my mask
no,
off?
if you want to talk, no, definitely. But I say for the rest of you, like I said, you're welcome to stay, or when you're done, you can go. It's completely up to you. We won't make any decisions tonight. So thank you. All right, David, I don't know if you've memorized the questions by now.
Yeah, I guess it's a certain advantage.
Yeah. No stealing answers, that's the other rule. So again, so if you, and we have your application, but things you want to expand on. So maybe I'll start for this one. Could you tell us about any pertinent experience you have on serving on any boards, commissions, or any other volunteer capacities? And in responding, if you want to expand on the roles you played and any impact you think you had.
I was on the initial Pawtucket River Harbor Management Commission. I think that began, Bill Shea was the chair. I think that was in the 80s. I was on that for several years. I was on the Police Commission from, I think, 91 through 97. And I was in the Charter Revision Commission. I think that was in the early 2000s. That was the one where we were trying to decide if we wanted to change the form of government in town. My brother Bill happened to be the first selectman at the time. And when he decided that he liked the job so much, he was an obstacle. And I eventually had to get off because it was causing some family problems. So I got off it, and obviously it didn't go through. And
Just to say, we might be looking for seats for some of these other ones also, so.
Yeah, and let's see, what else have I done? I'm on the Veterans Memorial Committee, as you guys know. I think those are only the commissions I've done. You know, I was fairly active. I haven't been active. I'm on the Republican Town Committee, and I'm really pretty active with that. But it's been a long time. I think it was since the Charter Revision Commission. I haven't really been actively involved with any commissions or boards in town. That's it.
Thank you. Deb, you want to take this?
Sure. What is your opinion of the responsibilities and primary function of the EDC?
To promote business growth in the town. That's it.
Thank you.
Okay, last question.
Mhm.
Like short and sweet answer, that's great. Please describe your relevant professional experience as well as any specific skill set you would bring to the Economic Development Commission.
I have no agenda. And I never had an agenda. When I was on the police commission, I always used to tell people, you know, I'm not here to represent the police department. I'm here to represent the taxpayers in the town of Stonington. And that didn't always go over so well with people on the commission. That's always the way I felt about anybody that serves on a board or commission. You're not there for yourself. A lot of people are there because they want to see their name, even though my name is on this building. Not that, you know, because I just happened to be on the police commission at the time. But, yeah, you want to, if you're going to do this stuff, it's because, and I'll be honest with you, I was asked if I was interested in this because I was very involved with the Campbell Grain building. And I felt that that was a real loss, that we didn't get that abatement. But that became very emotional, and so when I was asked by someone if I'd like to be on the EDC as an alternate, I said, yeah, I'm retired, like Don, and I'd like to see business grow in this town. So that's kind of what spurred me to apply. That's it.
Thank you, David. Thank you for honest and brief answers.
Yeah, well, how much can you say?
Other members
It is what
appreciate
it
too.
is. Anyway, I thank you for the opportunity
Thank you.
to call me in and ask me if I'd like to be a member, and I would.
Thank you.
Okay.
Paul,
Thank
do
you.
You can stay there, Paul, or come down, whatever you prefer.
Speak
Thank you, Paul.
Thanks.
So, June, you want
I
to
don't know,
start?
August group, my goodness gracious. I'm sitting there going, what am I doing here?
No.
I get the state champion soccer team and then I get, I need to follow up with that thing.
Our meetings are usually less than that, Paul.
Right.
I don't remember any of the questions.
Oh, no, we'll repeat them. So I'll do the first one?
Yeah.
Okay. So we would like to know what pertinent experience you have serving on a board or commission or in another volunteer capacity. And then responding, please expand on what roles you played and what impact you had.
I'll try to be somewhat brief, which is always a challenge for me. Anyway, I'm just really grateful that I have an opportunity to sort of serve this community now that I'm retired, just recently retired after 42 years. And my background is in education. I've served a number of school environments. Most recently, upon retirement, was down in McLean, Virginia. But I moved here in 1999 from outside of London to serve a school community here up off of Barnes Road called Pine Point School, where I served as the headmaster for 12 years. I think we were aggressive in trying to sort of carry out its school's mission, but certainly my passion of being a community builder and developer. So we were trying to be very intentional about how do you build the community together, and I'm not going to prattle on about the various initiatives, but the idea is how to build a community together writ large. I've continued on doing that through a variety of other sort of professional stints as headmaster of schools overseas and throughout the United States as well. We've always kept our house here in Stonington and loved this community and absolutely are passionately wanting it to grow and build. Some of the things that might be germane to this, I was on the board of the Connecticut Association of the Schools, briefly served as its president. So I think that has some sort of administrative quality. I was a Fulbright on an initiative of Education for Sustainable Development, and to me that's a very intentional sort of thought from my standpoint of how do you look for the future, thinking in terms of education but also economic development as well. How do you become strategic, thinking to the future? And I think those experiences I think have served me well, and I think could be transferable to the work ahead. What's enough? What's that?
That's good, that was quick.
Sure. What is your opinion of the responsibilities and primary function of the EDC?
Yeah, well, I mean, economic development is a great term, and building business, I think, is obviously germane. But to me, what I feel far more sort of important is our sort of larger role is to think strategically. I mean, we're not the one deciding, we will not be the decision makers, we make recommendations. But the idea is thinking things through when businesses come to the forefront, that we think I think, systemically and strategically. So it's not just building up sort of the grand list and sort of the mill rate and working on that. That's all well and good, but then what are the consequences 10, 20, 30, 40 years down the road? You know, I have to be blessed, though, I'll call it a COVID casualty. My daughter was a primary health care provider down in Hopkins Medical Center, and it was a curious series of events, but they sold their house just at the beginning of the pandemic. Once they had sold the house, they had no place to go because the world shut down. So they actually came and moved in with us for 8 months. The blessing is we have a granddaughter, so we got to see her every single day. And lo and behold, they bought a house in Mystic while we're here. So now I have an added incentive for my family and my community to sort of build. And so I'm very much involved with those aspects of growing for the long haul as well.
Thank you. And
Strategic.
so, strategic, long-term thinking. So any kind of professional or certain skill sets that you could move on to touch on that you want to share that you think would be helpful to the DEC? I'm not a big fan of sort of talking about myself, but I think my experience has been that I work on trying to bring folks together. If you're part of an independent or private school, you know that you have lots of constituents, let's put it that way. And the key is how do you move a process moving forward. I've been successful in whether it is initiatives, programs, but I love the network and I have a real passion for this town. We've been here for 22 years. I'm an avid learner and listener, but I'm also keen on trying to get things done, but always focused on the long-term haul. It's not just to get it done, but how it will be successful 15, 20, 30, 40 years down the road. Well, thank you so
That's it.
much. Wonderful. Again, welcome to stay.
All right, thank you.
And thank you so much for your
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Derek, thank you for your patience. You got extra bonus points. So.
I was here at the beginning because my son is on this team.
Oh, good. Okay, I'm glad we worked it out well for you.
Congratulations. Thank you.
Same time next year with the group, right?
God, we'll see. He's one of the seniors, so
I was going to ask.
It won't be me.
One of the questions I wanted to ask: how many seniors are on the team?
There were 11 seniors, 9 of them starters.
Wow.
Okay, so maybe.
So pretty much an entirely new lineup next year.
They've
So,
been great.
Well, good luck to them, and congratulations to you.
thank you.
And Derek, thank you so much. Again, same questions, but we will repeat them.
That's good.
Maybe I'll start. So basically, just want to know about any pertinent experiences you have in serving on other boards or commissions or any other volunteer capacities, and just if you want to expand on the roles you played or impact you had.
Sure. So the answer on that one's going to be extremely brief, and I'll give you a little bit of background, which will explain why it's so brief. I'm still in the process of raising 3 kids. I moved up here. My wife grew up in Mystic, and when we were dating, always loved this area, but never found it a place where I could make a living. I'm in finance. It was kind of a dream of mine to kind of retire here. But then I had some opportunities, flexibility with work, moved up in 2005 and rented because I knew it was going to be kind of a short-term thing. It turns out I ended up finding something in New York as a full-time job and then in DC. And so long story short, for about, 16 years, I was essentially a weekend dad, or, when I could work out of the house, it'd be great. COVID's been a godsend for me for a whole number of reasons. And it's really now that I'm seeing the opportunity, because I've given up my offices in New York and DC, and I will be working from home. I'll travel a fair amount, but I'm not retired. I don't plan to be in the next, several years. But for the first time, I feel like I'm more rooted. We've loved this community. All 3 of my kids were raised here. All 3 went to the high school. But from year to year, I was almost at a point where it's like, I can't do this commute anymore. So it's just now that I'm feeling, more grounded. But in terms of my professional work and the reason I'm interested in this commission, I've been a real estate developer. I've got a master's in real estate. I ran a fund that did a lot of urban infill development projects. So I've always been on the other side of it, right? Making pitches to communities for why projects make sense. And I'm very much a numbers guy and believe very strongly that the devil is always in the details, right? And the big challenge of a commission like this, or being a lender or making an investment in something, is that you're always forecasting out in the future. And you're hearing a pitch, but no one really knows what that's going to do 10, 15 years down the road. They're all projections, and that's where someone, I think, familiar with the pitch side of that can see through, and cut to what projections make sense and which ones don't. So that's kind of where I see myself living in the commission. Not so much I'm not active in the community. My wife is, but I am not for work reasons. But I do have a real keen sense for looking at deals and deciding what makes sense and what doesn't.
Thank you. That's really helpful background to have. Do you have any?
Sure. So what is your opinion of the responsibilities and primary function of the EDC?
So, yeah, absolutely, to promote economic development, jobs, increase, tax revenue, all of that. But to do it in a way, obviously, that keeps the character of the town and is the right thing for the town in the long run. But I will say again that I view the commission's role as sort of the due diligence arm of decision makers, right? Where the commission needs to cut through like I said before, the devil's always in the details. So we've got to spend time with those details and make a compelling reason, one way or the other, for a project. And I think, so that's kind of one component. The other component is to be able to verbalize that in a way that's actually going to resonate with people. And I've been on the wrong side as wearing my developer hat, where the people in the room totally understood what we were trying to build. They were on board, not just in a, you could tell they firmly believed it, they just couldn't sell it. And deals didn't happen that I strongly believe should have. So I think that's also part of the commission, is to not only know what makes sense, but also be able to sell it to decision makers and to the community.
Thank you.
Okay, last question. Please describe your relevant professional experience, which I think you already have, as well as any specific skill set you would bring to the Economic Development Commission. And you kind of...
Yeah, I kind of already did. One thing I didn't mention, so I've been a developer. My current role, and prior to real estate development, I've been in distressed commercial real estate, where I've worked for banks and helping them work out problem loans. Right now I work for the FDIC. I was hired as a consultant during the financial crisis and helping them dispose of bad loans that they inherited through banks. The reason I bring that up is that I've made a career of seeing what happens when good deals go bad and why, right? So a big part of what we do is to try to say, okay, at origination, this is why they moved forward with this loan, and these are all the things that went against them, and why. So I'm always pessimistic is too harsh, but I've made a career out of knowing how good intentions kind of don't work out.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good.
Thank you guys so
Yeah.
much. And again, you're very welcome to stay, but also we won't hold it against you if you go.
right.
Okay.
And
Thank
just,
you.
yeah, again, I mean, only two of you are left, but to reiterate, I mean, as you can see, we have really diverse candidates with awesome different backgrounds. So just thank you guys.
Okay.
Thank you,
Bye.
Thanks. Okay, and sorry, John, that you normally comments are right at the top, but we have these other two things. So
That's
comments from the public, and you just have to say your name and address for the record.
Yeah, sure, no, thanks. Name is John Morris. Actually, is it okay if I take this off?
Yes.
Great. Whoops. So, John Morris, the address, my address is 279 L. Harvey Road in Stonington. First of all, I want to thank you all for your time and your service. No question. As I mentioned, I'm a resident on L. Harvey Road, member of the Concerned Citizens Group, which is an ad hoc group called the L. Harvey Road Land Conservancy. For today, backed by a signed petition, we're requesting that the town hold or consider a public meeting to hear from the neighbors and folks in the community that have questions and concerns regarding the Al Harvey Road land purchase before the deal is finalized with the parties that are concerned, including and especially the U.S. Fish and Wildlife, which apparently refuses to have a public meeting until after the deal closes. We believe that since a significant amount of the town's open space funds are being used to complete this deal, there just really are a lot of unanswered questions that I think are really important that should be discussed and considered ahead of time. As you'll see here as I kind of take through some of the examples, publicly, U.S. Fish and Wildlife won't say whether or if they would allow hunting, what type, be it gun or otherwise, what type of game species, what seasons, or how it would be managed. Privately, I can tell you that Rick Potvin of U.S. Fish and Wildlife, who I understand would be a principal player in overseeing this, told me that they would absolutely have gun hunting on their 100-acre parcel. Publicly, U.S. Fish and Wildlife won't say how they plan to manage for the safety of folks on the trails that crisscross from the proposed aquarium piece on the interior that cross into the U.S. Fish and Wildlife piece during the hunting season. Privately, he told me they would not post signs except possibly at a parking lot entrance. I can just tell you, I'm a hunter. I don't necessarily object to hunting, but I think we need to know what kind, how it's going to be managed, how it's going to work, and what kind of, safety provisions are being put into place. And then a third point here is publicly there hasn't been a discussion about a parking lot. I know that this group and the Finance Committee had talked about, making sure that there is a pull-off. But I think there needs to be further consideration again before, because this would be a U.S. Fish and Wildlife piece on their parcel that would potentially be, or is on a scenic road that could be constructed most likely on a very dangerous stretch of the road where there have been at least 3 accidents in the last 5 years, with at least one of those being a fatality and the most recent one of those being only a week ago. Privately, Mr. Potvin told me that they would look to build a 15-car parking lot. Now, some of these things may come to pass. Some of these things may not. But I think our point is we don't know. And once the deal closes, it's great that U.S. Fish and Wildlife is willing to have a public forum and discuss these things. But we think that given the fact that we're committing a significant portion of the town's open space funds to this, that these are considerations that really need to be discussed before you let the fox into the hen house to discuss how they're going to handle the chickens. I'm told that the town's money really is just going to go to the southern portion, but let's face it, there would be no deal really happening here if the town weren't involved in contributing it. I think it's important. We are, I want to also mention that we don't want to derail a deal here. So we're coming forward, and we've come forward with an alternative that would be in keeping with the town's stated open space policy. which as far as I know, U.S. Fish and Wildlife hasn't really said anything about. You know, again, I think it's important to look at that balance, you know, between the two. I want to emphasize that what the board, especially led by Danielle, has done here to pull this together is a fantastic opportunity for the town. So, you know, we're behind the whole concept and the concept of conservation, but we just want to point out that there's some things here that I think really need to be discussed ahead of time. Thank you.
John, thank you. And normally we don't go too much like detail, but you did wait this whole time. But I guess just to kind of reiterate, and I'm sure you've seen it, but at the beginning of December, we did post an overview of the process on the town website, mostly talking of Trust for Public Land and Avalonia, but through Trust for Public Land, U.S. Fish and Wildlife did add to it. And so, and I know we've been talking about this for over a year through in-person meetings, calls, emails about it. So I know that sometimes when you say the incident with you and Rick on site seeing it, sometimes one person says something and they're heard different ways, or it could be communicated poorly from one person's perspective to another. But I think just to clarify, especially since we have a reporter in the room, like I do just want to be sure some of the facts are set right. So one thing is that U.S. Fish and Wildlife did say, and it's on the town website, that they will do boundaries, interior boundaries will be posted. And again, they and Trust for Public Land have just kept reiterating that, understandably there's a frustration because it takes, U.S. Fish and Wildlife is bound by federal rules that they have to follow, and that they do follow for these different purchases. And so that's what they're doing with the Stonington case. And it's not necessarily that they have to go through this pre-compatibility determination just to see they work at projects all around the country. So they're not going to spend all this time and money and effort, taxpayer money really at the end of the day, to do these other steps if they don't determine if it is a good fit. So my understanding is once the federally approved appraisal comes in, they see if it meets financially the kind of necessity that they need to do, then they do this whole federally required, and it's all on their website, this giant kind of process they have to undertake, and they're required by federal law to consider hunting. They're not allowed to, even from the beginning, say no. Like they have to, no matter even if the site is like terrible for it, they have to consider it. So they're going through that kind of determination. And then as part of, and again, this is how I understand it, as part of that process, that's when they put out this public communication engagement. I would believe during, I don't know if it's because of COVID or otherwise, but I believe it's an online mechanism. People submit comments and feedback, and then depending on that outcome, they determine how to go from there. But there is this whole process that they do federally, nationally, all over the country for how they do this. So they're asking us to follow the same process. And I mean, they're not going to make an exception no matter how we ask, Courtney's office asks, anybody asks that you've asked to ask them. Like this is their process that they follow, and they believe it works and it's a well-vetted process. So that's what they're doing, and it's not that the deal will be done and too late and everything signed and approved. There is this whole process established, and even Avalonia, and talking to them, they gave us, I thought, an interesting example of during the budget process. We as the town give the library money, right? But we don't then ask them what books they're buying, how they're managing it. They said, you give it to them because they've established a level of trust, that they show you how they operate. And so Avalonia was only speaking about themselves, but they've been in this town for a very long time. They've proven themselves great partners in managing public space and lands. And so they explain they also don't do this in Stonington, any other towns. They don't do a public comment type period where people come and engage with them on that type of work. So again, just reiterating, we did do a lot of outreach and a lot of communication with different groups on how this should work and how the public should be engaged and how can we be more transparent. And some of your comments were well taken. That's why we posted this on the website, to try and be like, okay, we're working out all the time. We talk about it at our meetings, but usually Don's the only one here. So we recognize, people aren't going to dig through our meeting minutes. So we did do that post, which was helpful for you to kind of call attention that maybe there could be more constant communication. But again, that is just the process. I know it must be frustrating to kind of have to just wait and see how this unfolds, but this is the process, and if not, like we've talked about, we risk, it's not just, hiking, which is great and healthy, it's also the fact that it's, our aquifer, that it's this green space connector, that it has all these other benefits for the town. It's the reason why it's been a priority parcel for decades. It's finally on the market, and we don't want to see it sold for solar or, any, 4 or 5 single-family houses. It seems like it's in line with our POCD, it's in line with all these things. So we, I think empathize that it's frustrating and it has an immediate butter, it could be nerve-wracking when any type of change. But just to say, we will keep updating this the minute we get more information from U.S. Fish and Wildlife. We'll immediately update this. If people aren't signed up to get it, sign up on the town website, because then the minute you don't have to keep checking it, it'll just come to you, so you'll know that it's there. But again, and they just kept trying to point to, like, they follow to the utmost, the state of Connecticut laws on hunting. So if they were to say hunting would be allowed, they have to follow all the laws. So if you or neighbors have concerns or issues with the existing laws, we can help you engage. I mean, he was here earlier with our state rep or our state senator. If you feel like the boundaries aren't sufficient, or there's something about our gun laws aren't sufficient, but they do follow all the state laws and considerations for all these things. So I don't know if you guys wanted to add anything. But also, if you haven't read it, if you read through what's on the website and you have follow-up questions, a few of your neighbors have asked follow-up questions, so then we've amended what's on there to try and keep it up to date and relevant. I don't know.
I guess there's 2 things
Yeah.
I'd like to add, because I know there's been some talk of the taxpayer dollars that the town is spending. The pool of money that we're using was money that developers gave the town in lieu of open space. So it wasn't like taxpayer dollars that funded it. And we haven't had any developers give us that kind of money, because a lot of them are now giving us open space, but that's where that money came from. And then as far as curb cuts or parking lots, it doesn't matter whether it's a federal entity or a state entity or a local entity. It has to go through planning and zoning. It has to go through the police commission as far as safety and traffic considerations. So if there's any concern for a particular segment of the road that could be dangerous, that will all be brought out before anything is decided.
Thank you.
So,
And my only comment, I just want to clarify, because I think I understand this, that Fish and Wildlife will complete their process before the sale goes through.
That's our understanding. They can't approve spending the money until they do this process, is our understanding of how it should
But there
work.
will be time after they finish the process and before the sale.
Yes, to get the public comment.
Yes.
And again, that's what has been communicated to us. And if you want more clarification or again, direct honor from TPL is always happy to talk and kind of be the point of communication. And she's been very helpful. But yeah, that is our understanding. So again, there is a process. We know it's not, that's doing again, like we're always happy, like residents can come and talk to us and just like you did, and we can engage them. But I think who you want at the table at the end of the day is U.S. Fish and Wildlife. And I think we just have to follow the process that they have established if we're going to engage them. Yeah, sorry, there's not more helpful information.
Thank you all for letting us present our concerns. And I guess we would hope that during and through this process that the board is as transparent as they possibly can be to involve that public opinion in terms of how this is going to be managed going forward, in such a way that the U.S. Fish and Wildlife is doing things only in keeping in the interest of the town and the town's open space plan.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment?
Hi, Don Fiore, 5 West 5th Street, Public. I was just wondering, I have to be reading the town charter a little bit today, and I'm thinking of the change in the voting districts that might have to happen in the town.
Yes.
And this has to happen like by May, effective in November, so
I'm
is
not
that?
happy because it's funny, sorry.
Is that somewhere happening before May? match the new?
Joe might actually be able to answer this one.
I don't talk about it.
Our registrars are working super hard on it. We've been having calls with our town attorney to get clarification because the state law is conflicting with our town charter, as you rightfully brought up. So we're close to getting all the final answers on that and then trying to work that super time warp speed to see what we can do. But you're right, there are direct contradictions, and they are working really hard to try and get this all sorted.
Yeah, because I thought the whole idea, if you're gonna have 5 voting districts still, which I guess we have to have right now, you're not gonna want people in the same voting district having to vote for 2 different reps, you know what I mean? You
Yeah.
wanna make the lines follow.
It's very confusing, yeah,
Yes.
and we will likely almost definitely be having a town meeting with to answer, to give the solution that they determine is best for this new
Right.
predicament we've been presented.
I thought it was gonna be a little bit of a thicket, to be honest with you. Okay.
Any other public comment? Then we'll move on to the exciting approval of the minutes. Could I get a motion to approve the meeting minutes of, December 8th, 2021?
So moved.
I have a second?
A second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Thank you, Stacy. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Under correspondence, nothing. And then under appointments, reappointments, and resignations, we have a number. So I might just kind of, run through them. So first we have, but okay, we have an appointment to the Climate Change Task Force. So could I get an appointment to appoint, a motion to appoint Michael Sierra and Francis Pandolfi to the Climate Change Task Force?
So moved.
Is there a second?
A second.
Nice, motion and a second. Any discussion?
No, just thank you.
Yeah.
Thank them.
And thank them for being patient while we were trying to sort through
Right.
some things.
Exactly.
The motion carries. Could I also get a motion to reappoint Norman Robinson, Ruth Nolder, and Joanne Kelly to the Commission on Aging?
So moved.
A second.
Any discussion?
No.
Just thank them, yeah.
Yeah.
And thank you, June, for being the liaison over
Liaison,
there.
right.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, the motion carries. Could I get a motion to reappoint Frederick Allard and Rodney Cook to the Mystic Harbor Management Commission?
So moved.
Here, a second?
A second.
Motion second. Any discussion?
No.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
The motion carries. Could I get a motion to reappoint Virginia Abernathy to the Economic Development Commission?
So moved.
Here, a second?
A second.
Thank you. So, any discussion?
No.
Thank you.
Oh, it's 5 years, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Then could I get a motion to reappoint John Godin from an alternate member to a regular member of the EDC? And just to note, he'd be taking Rich Balistrosi's spot, and we'll acknowledge his resignation later on in the agenda.
So moved.
Can I get a second?
A second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? No, just think John's been wonderful. He's been helping us with the grant and super active, so I'm glad he's willing to stay on and move up.
Okay, yep.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, thank you. Okay, so now I'd like to acknowledge, so Pamela Johnstone's term as an alternate member of the Board of Assessment Appeals has expired, and she's not seeking reappointment, so we'll send her a thank you letter to thank her for her service. Similarly, Michael Lake's term as an alternate member of the Mystic Harbor Management Commission has expired, and he's not seeking reappointment, so we will also send him a letter thanking him. And then finally, sadly, Rich Balistrossi has resigned from the EDC, so we'll send him an acknowledgement and thank him for his years of service.
How many years was he on?
Long time, very long time.
Okay.
And he's just been so busy with work, so
Yeah.
it's been great having him, so we'll send him a thank you.
Okay.
Then under old business, none. Okay, now, new business, the project discussion. So I've been overwhelmed slightly with budget meetings and other projects and constituent issues that have come up. So I've not done my thorough job as I wanted to, but I thought it would be helpful to run through a very high-level overview of the projects that I know we have kind of on our plate. Okay. And then,
Okay, this is not our ARPA projects, these are
these are
things-
just projects that like state, basically like our office, First Selectmen office works on. Some of them you guys also have a tie into. I'll note like some of them might be, like I only noted ones where we're taking a lead in some capacities. So things like I noted later, like sidewalks or some of the bridge inventory work where like, some of my time might be taken on it, but I'm not necessarily leading on it, because essentially what I've seen over the last 2 years is I might have a slight issue with taking on too many things, and then it gets a little bit overwhelming, and I want to be sure we're not doing the top priority projects a disservice.
Yeah.
So we need to, I think, or I need to, and I need your help, prioritizing what we should be focused on and working on, with the understanding, obviously, new things come up and we want some flexibility, and not to say some other things we won't work on, but we'll at least know they're maybe not as top of a priority, or some things we might not get to. And so no necessarily decisions tonight. We can take this on to later in January. Just a quick high-level overview, and absolutely no particular order. And then there's just one or two I want to do a deeper dive on is town communication. So that's taking up, I'd say, thank you, Joe, a good bit of time from Stacy and I. We manage the Facebook site, the Instagram site, pretty much most of the things you read on town news and the First Selectmen's blog page. So that's a newer thing that we have going, and we think it's important. Thank you, John.
Thanks, Dave.
But it does take up a lot of time, and so that's something I think we'd love your guys' feedback on, and maybe engaging the community a bit. Like, how much do they like it? Do they need it? We did the community discussion series during COVID. I don't feel like we got a ton of traction with it. It took up a good bit of time, so we'll probably not do that anymore. But the newsletter, I think, is helpful. So, and I would maybe put even more effort into that. But it was something that people seemed like they wanted. But anyway, so I won't go into as much detail on everything. But just to give you a sense, so the Stillman Mill site, we have the Brownfield grant that I'd say is much more Deb and Sue leading on. But then as we start to work on some of like the partnerships and future use and some of the other organizing pieces, I think that's where I'd have to come back in a bit more. Mystic River Boathouse grant again.
Well, wait, before you go, I mean, if we have a comment, can we?
Yeah.
Okay, so, because I think for Stillman, once we get, once we get the money for this grant, we can do the testing, that's gonna let us know whether or not we want to take over the property from the taxes that aren't paid and from the money that, we put into that property. That might need, like the second thing of the partnerships of future uses, it could end up being a site of blight and for a long time.
Yeah, it could be, but then there's also continuing, I think, while we're doing this process, conversations with the Eastern Connecticut Land Bank to see if they are interested, what it could look like, and I think engaging some other businesses as well as Deep again, like we started to, 2 years ago on, okay, let's say this comes back, manageable, like where we could go after a remediation grant. What are the real future uses? Is the idea of a boutique hotel, like Graysale had brought up, and others seem to have some buy-in? Is that really feasible? Does Deep still feel like that would be an improved use since it's a flood area? Run maybe with the EDC on some economic model, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, okay.
That way we're just ready. And again, I guess I should have prefaced this, like, some of these things I hope we can complete in our term, but some things I'd love to get far enough along so when we're no longer here, that sounds morbid, when we're not in these positions, they're at least far enough along, someone else can take them and they don't seem quite as overwhelming.
Yeah, okay, all right.
I mean, Stillman, we're about ready to send that RFP out in the next week or so.
Okay.
And so then the assessment will take the next year.
Yeah.
But in terms of partnership, I think that even during the assessment, the LEP, whoever's hired, has to understand that, they have to kind of keep in the back of their mind what a future use might be.
Yeah.
And we will, sooner rather than later, have to talk to Deep again about, can we even do something here? If it's in the floodway and they say, no, you can't, only a park, I mean, that's different than.
Yeah, and 2 years ago, we did have a really good meeting, Keith and I up in Hartford with them, and they were totally on board with the idea of the hotel, because it's not a residential, and
Yeah.
you could have the first floor as parking, but obviously things are getting more stringent, so,
Right.
so that kind of thing. And then same kind of, a similar thing with the Mystic River Boathouse Park. Sue and Deb are really taking the lead on the Brownfield grant, but it's so large. And it gives me, I could have like a migraine right now. There's so many moving pieces, like there's the whole, living shoreline component and walkway, the things that aren't part of the state grant that are more part of the bonding. And then also, like you said, the partnerships with the crew team have been amazing, and their fundraising effort, how we coordinating with the Seaport and that hotel, so that would fall more on our office. So that's another one. My favorite topic, the Housing Rehab Fund, the partnership with ECHO and Human Services that we're starting the work on, but it's gonna be a pretty heavy lift to start, and then, but that's one ARPA related project. Then a potential new project would be, forget that. We just wanted to come back and see us.
Of course, Thank you again.
Thank you again. A potential partnership with the school, with maybe the high school, potentially middle school, on like youth engagement and local government. And again, that would be a new project that we'd start. Maybe we shouldn't be starting new projects, but it seemed exciting. And I'll just run through these and we can talk in more detail. But one resident in particular is wonderful and consistent, and keeps bringing up the idea of a boat ramp near Bay Street. But that will be a very heavy lift because it's never been an official boat ramp. So there's issues with that project. The solar project at the landfill, which I can give an update on, but that it won't be a super heavy lift, but it's going to take some work. The Donahue Park Riverwalk extension, the one that actually John Godin from the EDC is leading, but if we are successful in getting the grant, it'll take more work from our department, and then our department, the two of us. And then if it doesn't, we need to look for more grants. Work just on the American Rescue Plan allocation, kind of auditing, follow up with the agencies. And then obviously the giant topic of sustainability and climate resiliency, which thankfully you're kind of leading on some of these things, but internally, a town planning document, doing more grant searches, which we've been doing a lot of, but it's a lot of work and it's overwhelming. More public outreach and communication. I put pollinators and lawn education under there. Our 211 911 campaign will officially be winding down probably in the next couple of months, but then I'd like to do more. We're also obviously doing work with the homeless outreach, but I feel like there's more we can and should be doing on mental health, open space preservation, Al Harvey, and then potentially if Al Harvey gets all settled, maybe I'd love to see us work on the circus lot. Veterans Monument, I wish David was still here, we're gonna have a meeting with him next week on it, but thanks to Stacy's efforts, we've raised about $80,000, which is amazing, but we still need probably another 120. And it's taking an exorbitant amount of time, particularly from Stacy, and it's a very heavy lift. And then we still have these other aspects of the monument we need to work on, which is the history, the storytelling part, and potentially outreach to artists about the design work. The Old Mystic, future use of that site, whether that's for some type of affordable housing for different types of people, or some other use that hasn't been identified yet. But that, I think, we own it. It's a problem. We need to do that. And just on this isn't even on here, but the future of the West Broad Street building is definitely taking up some time and will. The charter is the one I want to circle back to tonight. The town dock fishing fleet resiliency. We had an amazing meeting this week. I think there's a lot of work we could do there. The Puck Duck water loop, and two new things is like building a business directory, which we've talked about. We don't have that, which is shocking. We don't have contacts for almost any of our businesses in town. It became really apparent during COVID. We think it's a big asset. We'd love to partner with the EDC on it, but it's a heavy lift.
Is that something that the, sorry, I'm not in, but like, Ocean or Mystic
Chambers share with us. We can ask them. I don't know if it's like proprietary kind of thing, but maybe they could opt in.
Yeah.
Or
I mean,
opt
I
out.
could ask people, their members, and then there might be others as well.
You're
but
true.
it seems like
just sign up with the town. Maybe we could just ask them to sign up.
Yeah.
But part of it, we might need to have then a database first. I mean, we could maybe just use Google, Excel, but like probably a database. And similarly, when Jason was still here, he had talked with Stacy about how much, and we agreed, town hall really needs like a database management system for like constituent services. And so that's obviously something that would fall to us and it'd be a kind of heavy lift. And then I said just that doesn't count on some of the other work that we get kind of pulled into. which I just gave a few examples, and then just the normal work, which is like our budget, constituent services, regional work with the COG, work on state issues. So basically, yeah, there's just like.
You missed a few.
And it's,
Our zoning regulations.
Oh, yeah, wait, tell me what I missed, zoning.
Yeah.
So again, I won't have to do, yeah, that actually will be a heavy lift. Okay, zoning regulations, what else did you say? So sidewalks I didn't put in here because that Sue's really leading on that.
all right.
And it doesn't take up a good bit of our time.
And the bridge inventory is Chris.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to say, bridge inventory, sidewalk, like, it takes, we have meetings, we update each other, we make decisions, obviously, but it's not, oh, I did read this one, but it's not, a heavy lift on our office. And then the one I really wanna do, I don't know if we're ever gonna get there, is how to make the town more pedestrian and bike friendly. And I have a little memo I've been working on forever for the police commission. We've had a number of meetings just with the police chair and captain and chief, about some steps we think we could take, and with the owners of Mystic Cycle Shop, who are just lovely. So anyways, that was another one that's on here, but I didn't read. So, but all this to say is, obviously, like, all these are important. I don't really know what we could cut out. But there's too much to work on. And then the idea of opening the charter, I still feel like we should do it, but I also have, just given the workload, have a hesitancy, and then all the, how much is that needed, the charter opening needed versus these other things? And again, not to make any decisions tonight, but I think on the charter in particular, we have to decide by the end of the month, because if not, we'll run out of time for doing it. We might already be out of time, but no.
Yeah, so I mean, we can talk about this in detail at the next meeting, but I really think that our zoning regulations, hiring the right people, we need more people at town hall. We need another engineer, we need a sustainability manager. Those two people alone will help a number of these items that are on here. The whole thing about sustainability and climate resiliency, our zoning regulations, the bridge inventory, the water loop.
The old Mystic site.
The old, right, all of those things, the problem I really see us having right now is we are short-staffed.
Yeah.
And it's really clear, like those two positions, I'd like to see us ask for them now. So, I mean, I know there are a lot of, I know there's deferred maintenance issues that are coming up. I'm so thankful we got the $5 million we got from ARPA, right? So that some of the things that, are falling apart could be taken care of, but we really need, we really need more help.
Yeah.
So, when you think about the culture of Stonington and the uniqueness of Stonington is we're not like any other town. Look at there's 18,000, 19,000 people that live here. But how many come here to visit? And how many miles of shoreline do we have? And so with shoreline, and so how vulnerable are we to climate change, right? Or anything like that. And there's so much money out there with respect to vulnerability to heavy rainfall, like all of that stuff. We don't have the staff to go after it.
Yeah.
So I really feel like we're missing huge opportunities financially to help us with a lot of this if we had the right people.
Yeah.
So.
No, I agree. I mean, I've been trying to apply for so many grants, and it's gotten so confusing. Like, and they're not necessarily that organized on the federal side either, and I think there's money flowing, so we actually had a good laugh today, because somebody reached out to us about a project we submitted 2 years ago, and we're like, are you guys still interested in this? We're like, yes, but what are you talking about? Yes, we still need the money, but we don't even know what project you're talking about.
Something else that you didn't include that ties in with all that is the space issue. I mean.
Our space issue.
The space issue of where to put things, we're out of room in town hall.
Right.
Other areas.
And,
I mean, maybe Barbara's headed that part up, but.
I think again, like June said, like, because everybody's so overworked, the other things kind of end up falling on Stacy and I. So yeah, like the space thing, Barbara and Tom did a great job. They have this whole inventory of like all, in terms of storage space at Old Mystic that they summarized so we could bring it to the school to see if they could help us with space needs. And then Patty and her team are working on kind of the internal digitizing and trying to reduce files. And that has actually been going pretty well. It's hard, but going well. but it is, everybody kind of tries to do their part, but there's just a, there's not enough.
We're
staff,
behind,
there's a lot of work.
we're, what they call it, behind the eight ball in all of this. You
Yeah.
know, we finally got the money to be able to digitize. So, you know, that'll free up some space with respect to having to store documentation or even ease of going through the town clerk's documents or even our zoning, zoning applications, right? So,
all that stuff.
in space, so I don't know how much conversations there's been with utilizing the space that was offered to the town in the new district office for Pawcatuck Middle School. But prior to the Board of Education moving into that, there was an allocation, there was an allocation of a significant portion of the building on from the second floor that was going to be reserved for town use.
Yep.
Because we knew we needed space, so we were gonna move, I think we were gonna, try to move the Department of Human Services there, or we were gonna try to move planning and zoning there, I mean, we're gonna try to move like a whole department, to that area, just to free up space at town hall, right? Because, it's just, you only have, so many square feet in a building.
And we toured that area. I don't know, you may have been on that tour as well, but June and I certainly were on that
Yeah,
tour.
right.
To see the area.
Yeah.
So
No,
let's,
follow up, we did reach out, our first attempt, was not so successful, but since then, I've been communicating with Peter Anderson, he's always very helpful, and he's trying to identify some possible spaces, but
Okay.
that document will be really helpful, just to show that that was the intended, and understandably, things change and evolve, but, we're really only asking for like 1,000 square feet.
so, yeah, so this is, this is excellent, and maybe, what we can think about is, I can identify, like, how many of these items would a sustainability manager be able to assist with, or a second town engineer be able to assist with, because those are the two.
Yeah, almost
right?
nothing, I tried to, everything that's on Chris's plate for town engineer, other than just referencing the bridge thing, since that was kind of our idea to begin with, I didn't include here, so I'd say the new town engineer position, or the new assistant engineer is pretty full, with MS4 stormwater work, and then helping Chris
not
with
even
his,
on here. Okay, you're right.
inventory work of just site plan reviews. So I think they're tapped out, but the point about the sustainability manager is really good, and I wasn't thinking about that, so.
Somebody who
To
can
show
help
like
write grants.
exactly, specifically, yeah, and there's so many, the grant writing is getting overwhelming. Okay, and then just think about, so I think, let's think about that, think about if you were kind of prioritizing these, and you guys, to be really honest, what would you say is kind of the top, middle, and bottom brackets? And then I'd say have a real, heart-to-heart with yourself, but also, people, the RTC, the DTC, other people in the community, about the charter. Because I don't want to not do it because it's too much work and we don't have enough time or capacity to do it, but I also don't want to, if it's not that, much, if people aren't feeling like it's tremendously needed, we obviously have a lot on our plate, and it means other things won't get done. So I think we just have to really think about it. And again, the key issues I think that have been brought up are, the form of government, if it should be a town manager, if it should be 4-year, the town clerk and tax collector being elected instead of appointed, although when Rob was here, they did change some things in the union contract to make that less vulnerable, making the 2 deputies positions in there. So I mean, that's less of a risk, but I mean, it's obviously still something that should change. And then there's a lot of smaller things, like the WPCA can't have alternates because it doesn't say so in the charter. There's things like that that probably should be changed, making the selectman term gender neutral would be a nice one. And so I think we just need to think about and ask other people, because I've gotten a real mixed feedback from people being like, you have to do it, this is so important, to don't do it. Thank you.
Okay,
Okay.
all right.
Sorry,
Yeah.
I took a lot of time. Okay, thank you guys. And then, any comments from you guys? Do you want to start?
Just, I'll be pretty brief. A couple things. One, I had a really great meeting with Farouk to talk about, partnering, not even partnering, just communicating with the Board of Ed and how we're trying to get, so we're a we, not an us and a them. And so we're gonna touch base, and we said at least monthly, if not more, if not in person, by phone. We talked about the superintendent search process, which, as you know, will be joining the call with Betty Aska next Wednesday. Popped up on my calendar today, to discuss our thoughts, because certainly the superintendent is a community figurehead, if not just, the school head. So I think it's really important, and I know in the past, when I was on superintendent search committees, it was kind of a group that sat in one room and did it. In this case, and a lot of it's because of COVID, the search group that they've hired, and she really does know the town very well, so I'm very happy with that. She's going to be reaching out to the different groups and gathering input. So there still will be an opportunity for us and for other people to give their input for the superintendent.
Do you know if on that, are we supposed to represent like the entire, kind of say municipal side of government, or like would they be willing to do another call, say like Human Services and Rec, work really closely with them, or the PD, or others?
No, I think we could ask her for that second call, because, I feel like it's hard for us to necessarily, not that we couldn't represent them, but they have a lot of different things we might not think of.
Yeah.
And I think that, I don't think it would be too much to ask her to do an additional call with maybe PD and Human Services, and or Rec, and try to get them together, just another hour call with those groups, because I think it is important. We look at the partner, like you're saying, the partnerships with Rec, with the schools or with Human Services, and there's a lot of things.
Communication with the PD is so important. So
Exactly.
Okay.
So, no, I think that's a really good point, and I can mention that to Farouk, or we can just mention it to.
Maybe mention it to Farouk so he doesn't feel caught off guard.
I will.
Thank you.
So, and then also my other committees didn't meet because of the holidays. But I did want to kind of remind you that I will be able to attend next meeting, but I will be calling in from Alaska.
Okay.
So.
Are you sure it's okay to call in? Because we can also push this off for February, like the discussion.
Well, the time is different. Instead of being like Laura, it's almost midnight, it's going to be noon there. I think I don't believe there should be an issue, but, maybe I'll know once I get there if it looks like
Let's
there's.
see too, because we can always.
It'll be like part of your only 3 hours of daylight.
I know, I was like, I was thinking we should.
But it could also be
time.
25 below zero, and that
Yeah,
daylight might be spent inside anyway. So,
Well, let's touch base, because we
So we can
might
see.
be able to move some things to the February meeting, so it's not, we can still meet and just get through some quick stuff, or maybe.
Okay.
It'll be pleasant surprise.
Okay.
And then did you want to give any update on the boathouse?
The
or
boathouse
Stillman?
in Stillman, yes, sorry. So Stillman, we finally have all the paperwork on Stillman from the state. So I helped Susan, we put together an RFP package, I sent her all my comments. Right now, I think she's just trying to put together a list or copies of the reports. I gave Stacy a couple of hard copy reports that I had to send out along with the RFP. We were thinking, and actually, I'd love your opinion on this, like asking for a 3-week response time. I don't know if
You
that's.
know better than we do, is that?
I mean, she was thinking, we're trying to decide how long this time of year, it's not the holidays. If it was over the holidays, I would have extended it, but.
Is that normal for your industry, like a 3 week?
I've seen them 10 days and I've seen them 6 weeks, and
So 3 weeks.
No,
seems-
I would, yeah.
3 weeks sounds reasonable
Yeah.
for an assessment. For the
Yeah.
remediation, we might have to give it a month. We're working on the remediation one. That's the next RFP we'll put together now that we have all the information from the state.
Okay. And I think, I can follow up with Sue on this, but on the boathouse, the one question that came in yesterday from Mike O'Neill was just if one of you guys could get back to him about where we landed on the grading plan.
Yeah.
So I think if you and Sue want to talk more, and again, it doesn't have to be even this week, but for next week, and then maybe I can meet with Sue and talk to her about it too. But just because they're happy to help us try and start moving forward on some of the permitting for like the docks and stuff, but all that.
Which
in
I
addition
think
to the
we
grading.
talked about, that it would be great if we
Yeah.
did that. We know we're gonna need that.
Yeah.
And even the dock is kind of, it's
It's
the
on
bond
market.
part, not the grant part. We need it, it's gonna take a year to get that
Yeah.
permitting.
And I think they were saying they just, for putting out any information, they'll need, to know the grading.
Yeah.
So just kind of like
Yeah.
that kind of
Now,
stuff.
their grading plan, the one thing we had talked about, they gave us their grading plan, which takes certainly into account constructing the boathouse. And our concern was, is there extra fill that we wouldn't need for the park versus the boathouse? But it seems like if that's the case, we'd kind of have to parcel that into their project. It wouldn't necessarily be, we wouldn't do it. We'll build it the same way, but it might be, well, you guys are responsible for X amount of the fill, versus
So that,
what the
yeah.
grant will cover.
And I just
If
want to
that
be
makes
sure
sense.
also that we're, just because it kept getting reiterated, like the sea level rise part, that like we're building up that front
Yes.
part to meet, 20 years from now.
Yeah, exactly, and that's what, they showed us the grading plan that encompassed that sea level
Yeah.
part, and, we need to take that into
Yeah.
consideration.
Yeah.
So
Right, not just
that-
spending all this money, that's all going there.
The one thing though that would be.
Beautiful park underwater.
Yeah, the one thing though that would be really helpful.
It's our Atlantis.
Would be to continue to try to push for the living shoreline and boardwalk grants, because some of that could also be used to anchor some of that fill,
Yeah.
so.
Okay, that's really good. Okay, so we'll be in touch based on that. Thank you. I know we've been doing a lot of work on it, so thank you. June?
So Climate Change Task Force did put together a list of justifications for a sustainability manager.
Okay.
And looked at other municipalities that have one, and that the monies that they were able to bring in through the grants for that town more than paid for the position.
Have they sent it to you?
Yes.
Okay, I have it.
Yeah, I think they sent it to, yes.
The
So-
past 2 weeks, there's like a
Yeah.
laundry list of unready.
So they're also working on, and they'll have this for the next meeting, a mission statement.
Oh, good.
There wasn't one. The only thing that it said on the town website about the Climate Change Task Force is that you have to attend, if you miss 3 meetings, you're off, or something like that. No, they didn't have a defined mission statement and what, so they're coming up with a mission statement. And one of the other things that was shared at the last meeting was this really neat handbook that a town in Alaska actually distributes to their employees. And it's all about, it's really, the handbook is just about thinking about everything that you do. Like, we wear the plastic harvested from the ocean, like for me to be personally reminded of what I do with the stuff that I consume and dispose of every day. So it's like a little handbook to think about that, like turning off the lights, or printing double-sided, or printing black and white instead of color, or, unless you need to do color. So I thought it would be neat to, and it's only 13 pages long with a lot of pictures, to see if it was something that we could adapt here. And I'd be happy to, work on it, just to hand it out to the employees, just think about
Put it on the
these.
website.
Yeah,
To put on the website, yes.
Have a link.
And bring to boards, yeah.
Because I think you said it was from Homer, right?
Was that?
Homer, Alaska.
Yes.
Was it? Yeah,
Yeah.
which is, it's very different than here. It's similar in a lot of ways because it's got the fishing and
Right.
it's a coastal town. so-
Right.
Thank
So
you.
just to think, to be constantly thinking about,
Yeah. And do they seem open to doing some like community engagement and education?
yes, so I think at the next meeting, a representative from PACE is going to come.
Oh, good. I think I might ask, when is that meeting?
It's supposed to be next Thursday.
Okay.
It's next Thursday, the 20th, but I think some people want it to be virtual. I don't know.
Okay, well, let's see, because I think, or hybrid would be better. but-
Hybrid.
Okay, hybrid
yeah.
would be fine. Let's talk, but maybe we make that a joint meeting. I know you won't be here, but a
No,
joint.
I'll actually be here.
Okay,
Yeah.
a joint meeting, because I wanted to see what PACE was gonna, because we've been talking too, and then Julie was talking, so I let her take the lead, but I'd love to see what they could do, and then we could like hit the ground running.
Okay.
So maybe make it a joint, I'll just double
Well,
check.
Or hybrid, because it's at the aquarium now, and I think they have the technology capacity to do a hybrid meeting. Is at the Millen Center? So Climate Change Task Force now meets at 5:15 on the third Thursday of the month at the Research Center at the aquarium.
That's great.
That's nice,
So-
okay. Okay, okay, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay,
And Board of Finance didn't meet Commission on Aging didn't meet. Yeah.
I just will be really brief. 'cause
Planning
I
and
know-
zoning, I was not able to go to the meeting, but I know they talked about cannabis, and I'm not sure, I didn't listen to the.
Keep an eye on eyes about, so we're gonna hopefully have an update soon on that one.
Okay, all right.
But I'll be really quick because I've talked way too much and it's been a really long meeting. I just wanted to let you guys know we might have, and I'll forward it to you, really good news on a solar project. Like, there's still hurdles and obstacles, but we got our bids back for solar at the landfill. And they came back really strong. So we're really excited. Jim, John, and I have been meeting with the guy from Titan all week and talking and going back and forth and stuff. But there's still, even if once we kind of decide on who we want to go with, it's non-binding, but then once we give the approval, they'll go to Eversource and file this whole application thing, and then Eversource tells them how much it's gonna cost, because like the interconnection fee for them could be up to like $3 million. Like, it's big. There's some challenges on our side. Then I think once they get that, they go to the state, and they're competing for the state money for this. So I mean, there's a number of challenges still in our path, but it looks really promising. And we've moved kind of quickly on it, so I'm really excited. But it could, I don't want to like speak too off the cuff, but like it could bring in like somewhere around like $150,000 to $160,000 a year, diminishing slightly every year over 25 years, but it was significant. And there's different options of how we want to go through it. You can see it all in the presentation, but basically it would offset, because they looked at how much the town uses of energy. It would like offset almost like 90% of our energy costs. So it would make us like one of the greenest like towns in Connecticut.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Again, we might not actually choose to use it to pay our utility bill, but it would just by comparison sake. So that was really excited. I also looked at the.
And that's our utility bill now,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Because, I mean, our kilowatt usage might go up a little bit, but we know the cost per kilowatt's gonna go up a lot higher than the needs are.
Yeah, so it's gonna be interesting. So I'll send it to you so you can take a look at it. But it's exciting. All of our budget meetings have started, and they've been back to back, and it's just kind of intense, but good. And we'll figure that out as we're getting to it. And then just to say, because you said something nice about the school, I also wanted to point out, I thought it was really good that Miriam Butler, the assistant superintendent, reached out to myself, Board of Ed members, our state rep and senator, to try to join with, along with some of her staff, their staff on the school side, about how we can improve communication with the community and react quickly, whether it's a COVID situation or a superintendent search or anything. And since that meeting a few weeks ago, they've been working with us and with Stacy to try and get more communication up on our town website and to our social media channels to help augment it. And I just think it's a nice partnership that we have where we're trying to help reach each other's constituents. So hopefully we can keep doing that going forward. And then just lastly, it was a whirlwind since really before the New Year, since Christmas, like the day after Christmas, of PPE supplies coming in and changing plans and getting them out to the community. And not every plan was perfect, but we kind of all did it, and it was just a huge thank you. I mean, Stacy helped so much. We had Human Services helped, the police helped, fire, EMS helped, the Public Works helped. I feel like I'm probably forgetting people, but like George, our emergency management director, did so much. On New Year's Eve, he was like meeting the National Guard to get our stuff off the truck. Like, because we didn't want to have to wait till Monday. So, I mean, people just stepped up so much. It was really heartwarming. And they dealt with a lot of really frustrating situations and changes of plans and setbacks. And, what went from, 300 PPE to distribute each side of test supplies to like 80, and still did it, and got sometimes yelled at by people, and they still did it with a smile, and they were really thoughtful about it. And then, but just say starting tomorrow, we'll have about 2,095 masks to start giving out. We're just going to do it really simple. We're just going to have a bin, recycling bin outside of town hall. People can come and get them. It's on our system. And when the supplies are done. So hopefully people only take what they need. And then the rest of the masks we gave out to all the different frontline workers, some school businesses, nonprofits, and obviously the police and bus drivers and other groups, EMS, fire. So hopefully we've covered a lot of bases with this. Am I forgetting anything, Steve?
I would like to say, the slideshow you put together
Oh, yes.
was awesome.
That's all we
Because
three of us looked
You know,
at.
your extra
You're
time.
talking, I mean, you're talking about, distributing all the, the personal protection and stuff that's come in. But this list is stuff that's pending. There's a longer list of stuff that got done, and all during a pandemic.
I know, it was kind of, I started doing it just like a simple thing, and I was like, oh wait, I forgot we did so many of these things, and it was nice to see.
Now, if you haven't seen the vid, have you seen it?
No.
The video? It's
Oh,
on-
you just have to see, it's on the town website.
It's on the
It is
website.
cute.
Yeah, it's on the website. It's just great, all the things that have taken place in town over the last 2 years.
Yeah,
So,
it was a nice reminder, like things the police did. I didn't have as much from the school side, but we had a few things, the food distribution that they did and all the stuff that all of us have done. But, all right, so with that, meeting adjourned.
adjourned, okay.
Thank you.